in 2005, 2006, if you looked around many universities, all the leadership, the African academic leaders were people that were trained in the 60s and 70s in different parts of the world, in some of the top universities. And they came back in the 80s, in the 90s, and they've risen to those leadership positions in our universities. But if you look again at the lower tiers, senior lecturers and below, even if they have a PhD, almost all their degrees being from the same university in which they are teaching. And those who are leaving these days by 2005 and going overseas for their PhD were not coming back. So Africa was actually exporting their best minds out, and they are not coming back to help build institutions in the region. So we started asking the question, what can be done to strengthen doctoral training in Africa? Because that's the future of universities. So that conversation, we had no plans of starting anything, but we wanted to support universities, other centers that have a particular mandate around doctoral training to take that off. February 2008, in the midst of the difficult post-election violence challenges we had in Kenya, we decided to bring together a number of different universities. We had a certain number of requirements, including the fact that this has to be owned by our institutions. We need to bring on board research centers that can role model research excellence in many ways. And we have to ensure that we are covering both the our focus is on public and population health. But you recognize health as not just the absence of disease, but within the broader context of the social determinants of health. So we need to bring different disciplines, whether they're in communication studies, whether they're in social sciences, whether they're in health sciences, technology, whatever area, as long as the focus of that work is related to health, we felt it is important and will contribute to our ability to move the needles as far as improving health outcomes in Africa is concerned. As we went through that and have these multiple conversations around in different settings, different people brought in different ideas. Some will say, what about supervision? At the heart of poor PhD production in Africa is weak supervision of PhD dissertation. Others talked about the fact that, people do their PhDs at later ages in Africa. You're in your 30s, 40s, 50s sometimes, and you have responsibilities. You're a father, you're a mother, you have children in school, and sometimes you have to make ends meet. People talked about the university systems that can constrain even the training and the research that people are able to do. If you bring your money from external sources to the university and you can't get it out of the system, it constrains your ability to implement the research. So that's how we began to then explore the opportunities and the areas of intervention that could strengthen university-wide systems to support research excellence and doctoral training in these universities. We've supported 170 plus or minus fellows at this point. And we have in the program, I think, 165 currently. And of those, we have more than 42 that have graduated, maybe 42 to 45 that have graduated. Our fellows have published close to 500 peer-reviewed articles. They've raised over $5 million in research grants as PIs. We think they are getting the right, they're producing the right outputs that we want to see. These programs need to be owned by the universities. And one of the things we've started to do in the last year is to see how do we institutionalize the innovations that we've brought into doctoral training in African universities, within universities, so they are part and parcel of the experiences of every doctoral student at an African university. It's not just the experience of those who have the opportunity to be part of the CATA program. So we've started the process, and we are trying to learn from that process so that we can actually be able to write about it and encourage many other universities to adopt some of these systems. We've been thinking about creating what we call Centers for Innovative Pedagogy, where we actually train university faculty on how to teach. It's not just the routine didactic teaching where you sit in the front and give them the notes, everybody copies and reproduces them at the exam time. But to be able to use innovations that's come in ways we facilitate learning to take place, and then to bring experts from outside who may never have gone to university, but actually innovators in their own ways and in their own right. If countries can actually come together and create a basket funding for research, it can begin to break the boundaries. Break the boundaries of collaboration amongst African researchers and African institutions. Only 2 to 3% of the collaborations Africans do, or the research that we produce in Africa, are from collaborative work amongst African institutions across countries. So we collaborate with the rest of the world, but we don't collaborate with each other. Can we make it a priority by coming together to invest in ways that we can bring people from Uganda and from Kenya to work together? There's quite a lot of opportunities here for significant improvements in our ability to generate knowledge that moves Africa forward. But it starts with the right investments. And once we make those investments, I think we will create the opportunities. We started first as African institutions, and we asked ourselves, who are the northern partners with whom you've had mutually beneficial relationships over the years? And they were the people we brought on board, because they were not just relationships that were formed because of Qatar. They were relationships that we built on existing mutual respect that we've had with each other over the years, and that has really sustained that relationship and continued to make it such a rich resource for the Qatar program. The strength of a leadership, any leader, is what happens when you're gone. It's not what happens while you're there. So if Qatar will fall because I've left, then I've actually failed as a leader. The strength of Qatar is not just within APHRC. It is what is going on in the other 9 universities that are partners and other research centers that are partners. So when you have professors and seasoned who give their time for free and invest their energies to support the initiative, that's where the strength is.